All right. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So, let's start my talk with a bit of groove, I guess. Okay, so let's start by talking about everyone here in this room. To talk about you and me. So, there are two things I'm certain of everyone in this room. The first thing is that each of us have a unique set of beliefs, concerns, interests, and jobs, right? And the second thing I'm certain of, is that tonight when we go home and we take a shower, we want clean water to pour off the taps. And when we go to bed, we want a good rest. We do not want to worry about landslides. And tomorrow morning, when we step out of our houses, we want to breathe in fresh air, not a choking haze. So, despite all the unique differences among us, we all share a common desire. What do we want? We want a safe and productive environment. And we don't want it just for ourselves. We want it for everyone else. So that is just. So how can we all move together towards this safe, productive, and just environment in Malaysia? My answer is journalism. Now, not the journalism model that we largely practice in Malaysia right now, but a journalism that is funded mainly by the audiences. So, yes, I have to say that individual audiences, you and me, paying the newsroom for journalism is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to steer Malaysia onto a path of sustainability and keep her there. But now, since I'm asking you for your money, some of you must really be questioning my argument. In fact, some of you might not even be able to imagine how journalism benefits the society. So let me illustrate my point with a recent example. Recall the tragic accident of the elephant calf that was killed on the road just last month on Mother's Day. We all felt the grief and we all had questions. Why? Who were responsible? Why did the elephants left the forest? And would the mother elephant be safe? At the time, we wanted to talk about it with our families and friends, right? And what did you need? You need credible information. You need correct information. And the newsrooms gave it to you. Over the next few days, most, if not all of the main Malaysian media produced articles and videos explaining elephant behaviors, wildlife conflict, and wildlife crossings. But beyond that, as you continue your conversations with perhaps your children or your colleagues, more questions will have arisen. You have asked yourself, why are we getting more and more elephants out of the forest? And why did we say more? Because this whole event would have seemed oddly familiar to you. 2 elephants died on the road in Malaysia last year, and 3 this year alone. So perhaps even your children might be asking you, Mom, why? So you wonder, was it overlogging of the forest? If it was overlogging that caused the elephants to run out of the forest, then why is it up north in Kelantan, where human-elephant conflict is intense, the state government is encouraging more logging? But in contrast, down south in Johor, where the state government says they have stopped logging quotas for 10 years now, the residents there are encountering elephants more and more in their farms and their communities. And in response, the federal government said they have installed fences, they have increased patrols, and they have boosted awareness and education campaign. Is any of those working at all? Is our taxpayer money being put to good use? And are there ways that the locals, you, me, the businesses, the government agencies, the researchers, and the environmental NGOs can all work together to build a Malaysia that is safe for elephants and people? So you see, the picture is very complicated. The picture is big, it is messy. It is a tangled mesh or a web of actors and forces pushing and pulling each other across space and time. Now, we might be tempted to just look at this small part of the big picture and ignore the rest. But if we do that, then we fail to capture all the desires and needs and wants of all these other players. And we also fail to capture the contribution that each of these players can give to the solution. And of course, it won't be fair if we don't listen to these other voices. So if we truly want to move towards a safe, productive, and just environment for a Malaysian future, we need to open our arms and our minds. We need to have conversations and discussions about differences and solutions. That through these conversations, through this fair discussion, only then can we come up with holistic actions and policies that will guide us to move towards this future that we want. Now, at this point, you must be thinking, wow, so much work to do. It is a lot of work. And arguably, it's actually already more than what the Malaysian society does usually. But that's not even the end to a sustainable future if you want to move towards that. There's no end, unfortunately, because all these parts are dynamic. Societal values will shift, the markets will move, and the elephants, well, of course, they roam. So we always have to be on the lookout for ineffective or outdated enforcement and policies. We must always review and adapt. The conversation must continue. The monitoring must continue. So, where does journalism fit into this whole complicated picture? What type of journalism can give us all the things that I've described above? The monitoring, the discussion, bringing communities together. This is a type of journalism that works for the public interest, that is loyal only to its citizen. This is a type of journalism that is brave enough to investigate the rich and powerful, to scrutinize corruption and abuse of power, and at the same time, brave enough to criticize ideas that are popular but harmful. This is also a journalism that would strive to deliver useful information as fast as possible, but does not sacrifice ethics and accuracy. And this is journalism that will bring communities together, not drive them apart. More importantly, perhaps most importantly, this is journalism that will explain the issue to its readers, lay out the options so that you can decide which option to pick for the future that you want. Now, this last point is essential because this is a journalism that does not decide for you. It helps you decide, period. How does this journalism look like in action? Let me share an example from our own work. So last year, we reported on a project that wanted to turn virgin peat swamp forest into oil palm plantation. At the time, the state government has already approved the project and it was up to the federal government to review the project's impact report and decide if it was acceptable. Should anybody support such a project? Will such a project bring us any closer to the sustainable future that we strive for? For us here in the Klang Valley, we might think, no, of course not lah. We definitely shouldn't be cutting down any more forests. What more peat swamp forests that will release so much more carbon into the air and speed up global warming? Of course, that will be what the environmental NGOs will tell you. But if you turn around and you speak to the planter and the state government, they will say that they can protect the environment and still create jobs and income for the local communities. And that's even not far. That's far from the full picture, those two perspectives. So we want to bring our audiences to the bigger picture, the fuller picture. So what did? We went into the field for 4 or 5 days and we spoke to the locals. We need different perspectives. We spoke to the locals who told us, yeah, they welcome the jobs, they want the income, but they're worried about the floods that might come from the deforestation. We went through the report, there was hundreds and hundreds of pages thick. We spoke to scientists and we found out that the report has grossly underestimated the carbon impact from the project. This is all very technical. So what did? We took all these numbers, these technical details, this science, and we transformed them into cute, cartoonish graphics so that our readers can better understand it. And why did we do all that? As I said, we did it so that our readers can decide for themselves. Do they prefer the benefits, or are they more concerned about the consequences? Then they can decide if they want to speak out in favor of or against the project's impact report. And one thing we did was to share our findings with all the stakeholders. And some of them told us that it was the first time they learned about the perspectives from the other side. So this is a type of journalism that is robust, it is fair and brave, and it fosters discussion. It does not create friction. Now, there is such journalism in Malaysia, but in the very few newsrooms that practice it, the journalists there face uphill battle. They have to fight for resources, they have to fight for permission, and they might even have to argue against the sales and marketing team who brings in the big bucks. And who's paid? Who will usually be paid? The advertisers, the corporates, the political parties. This is where you can make a difference. If you pay the newsroom for journalism, you become its client. If there's enough of you and me doing so, then the Malaysian audience becomes the newsroom's top client. Now, when that happens, a wonderful relationship begins. Imagine what the newsroom would do for its top client. It will study what you like and provide that to you. You can tell the newsroom what kind of stories you would like to learn, what kind of solutions you would like to learn, what kind of investigation they should do. Do you want more long-form stories but in comic form? Sure. Do you want that to continue pursuing the stories of elephant and human conflict? Sure, they will do that. And going beyond that, you as a top client, the Malaysian audience as a top client, inject a lot of energy into the newsroom. Because now the reporters realize, hey, when I produce this story, somebody out there reads it, views it, and they love it. They appreciate it. So the newsroom will actually invest a lot more energy and time into the stories. And that's what we all want. Useful stories that will give us insights towards a sustainable future. Hopefully by now, you are seriously considering paying for journalism in Malaysia. There are very few newsrooms that do that in Malaysia, but I expect that you'll get more and more of it. It's already very common overseas. So the next time a Malaysian journalist comes up to you and asks you to pay for journalism, pay newsrooms for journalism, definitely consider doing so. You must remember, in the long run, the newsrooms work for those who pay them. And you want that to be you, the Malaysian audience, who wants a safe, productive, and just environment. If we don't pay it, we had no say. Thank you.